Jeff. Hey, congratulations on your new film, Kryptic.
Thank you very much.
Now, I want to say this film is so unusual. It will drive people bonkers on trying to figure out what's actually going on. But it is unusual, it is different, and it's so captivating that we have to watch it all the way to the end. But tell us initially first, what initially drew you that you wanted to be part of Kryptic?
Well, um, honestly, working as an actor and in Canada, it's not every day you get a script or a project, come your way that is this bizarre and twisted and fun. I mean, my background's in theater. So this kind of stuff really gets me excited as an actor, just diving into a world that's so well defined like this. So when I, read the scene and then read the script, I was really hooked. And then, of course, when I looked up Courtney Roy, who's the director and creator of the story, along with Paul Bromley, her photography and her visual work, and she'd done a couple short films were just so stunning and so unique that I was enraptured.
Now, this type of character doesn't come along quite easily in your business. That you get drama, you get comedy, you get your theater jobs. But tell us to get into that mindset of Morgan. In fact, where is his mindset in a film like this?
Well, like any good actor, I think you got to try to see things from the perspective of your character and try to, I think he sees himself as a good husband and a good person who just wants what's best for her according to what he thinks and his values. Um, so of course, if you zoom out and see from the outside, he's got a lot of problems. But I think for himself, it was just like getting into the zone of like why he thinks he's right and why he thinks, he's the best thing for her and why he might think that. Morgan is a child psychologist.
Hmm.
I love digging into, psychology and for different characters. So he's got very fixed ideas I think of what is good and what is right. And he pursues those even if you know they don't lead to the best ending.
You certainly described that correctly. And in this film, even though it's sort of like a horror film, I guess we describe it as a horror film, but there's a lot of I want to say sexual innuendos and nature on screen into this film. How do you handle something like that that there's a film that has a lot of sexual references?
Well, that's a great question, and I can definitely shout out that we had just a fantastic team of intimacy coordinators to work with. And to me, it's really vital for engaging in this kind of work, so that and the cool thing is that I think some people, out there maybe think, oh, because back when I started, there wasn't intimacy coordinators per se. But every time in my career where I've had to do intimate or sexual content, I've had a great director who's, stepped in and really putting the safety and comfort of the actors at the forefront. But here's the thing is working with a great intimacy team, it allows you to go even further than you would if you were just, left to figure it out on your own or with the other actors. So on this project, we had like a 30-page document of like all the intimate moments. I had a lot of meetings with the intimacy coordinator. Before we signed off, even there was there was a big document of like all these things and there was a lot of care, like, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with that? And which angle of your ass are we going to see? And I just, I'm an actor. I'm like, yep, I'm good with all this. If it serves the story, if it's gratuitous or something, it would be a different story. But I knew I was in great hands with a great storyteller. So yeah, we had an excellent team to work with that. You know, Chloe and I got to meet before we were on set. We had a day just with the intimacy coordinator to stage some of those scenes. And Chloe is an incredible actress, and so it was just a real gift to work together. And we just, okay, how can we, you know, make this as uncomfortable as possible? And so it was a lot of fun, actually.
I mean, speaking of, comfort or uncomfort, I mean, how easily was it to adjust to body comfort on something like this? I mean, it seems like you've done it before. Does it get easier each time, or you have to get into that state?
It's a great question. I mean, yeah, it gets a little easier each time. Once you've kind of gone there. Takes a lot of trust of your filmmaker and your team for sure. Um, yeah, but and just like you say, I think it's like you really have to just get in the character and and just be really immersed in what that person is going through. In Kryptic, there's a scene where I come bursting into her office to try to plead with her. And I remember shooting, and I'm not sure how much but anyway, I'm completely starkers, as they say in that scene. And I would go back to the bathroom and, okay, we're gonna do it again, and just get ramped up. And this guy is just begging, he's just begging for his life, and just I just focused on that. And once you get just zoned in on your fellow actor and what you're doing, like the rest of it just kind of goes away. And so yeah, bit of both.
I was gonna say, in scenes like that, you also have to make Chloe comfortable at the same time to adjust to you.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of checking in and, are you okay if we do this? And she's fearless too, oh yeah, let her rip.
Now, I do have to ask of a particular monstrous scene in this film because as an actor like yourself, you probably have like a checklist box of what you would like to do on stage or on screen, and I don't think this was part of your checklist. But tell us about that experience. What was that actually like? Is it like swimming in a bowl of spaghetti? Not saying that we all done that. So,
Um, just so I understand which you're talking about, are you talking about the kind of cutaways where we see,
yeah.
okay, this stuff?
In in
Yeah.
in in, in the muck, let's say that.
Like you say, swimming in a pool of spaghetti. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know a bit of the kind of movie magic that made that happen. It was a box that was created.
Hmm.
Uh, it's like about this big, and it had these elements in it, and in between scenes, we'd go out to the backyard and go in the ca we called it was called the cavity, and you'd take your shirt off and you'd go into the cavity, and Courtney would just be okay, now touch this thing, and now you're really into it, and yeah, kiss it. Okay, now you're afraid, now you're terrified, so she was just giving these directions. So it's, those parts were really shot kind of out of context, and really had, pour more, more goop, and they pour more goop in there. And so I gotta say, like, I was shocked. Yeah, that was something I've never done anything quite like that for sure. And we were all just into the cavity. But I tell you, like, when I saw it was when I was doing like the ADR, and I saw how they cut that together with the
Hmm.
scene, like in the bed or whatever, I was blown away. I was like, oh wow, I see how this works, and just these quick shots or whatever. And yeah, that was a wild experience for sure.
So, so in your mind, you have no idea what was actually going on. You're just following the instructions from Courtney.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And sometimes in film that's like that, right? You're opening a door. You're kind of you don't always know how it's going to come together in the end. But it sure, I, I felt like it sure worked. At least I got to see the film on screen a few times, you know, and you can hear the reactions of people. It's like, yeah, this is you know, working in the way it was intended.
Well, people will be certainly shocked after the seeing this film, especially the fact on how Chloe performs from start to finish.
Yeah, a master. It was just such a gift to work with her, absolutely.
Well, Jeff, let's talk about yourself. What actually got you started into acting?
Oh, great. Well, you know, I was a kid who was very much into acting. My dad had a like a Super 8 camera, and when I was 4 or 5, 6 years old, I was writing movies, and you know, so this was my thing. But then, yeah, some good teachers. You know, we had a great drama teacher where I went to high school, and I got to do a lot of great plays, some Shakespeare and Thornton Wilder, and some had the opportunity to do some great scripts. And then in Calgary, Alberta, where I grew up, there's a place called the Loose Moose Theatre Company, and it's the home and birthplace of theater sports. And the director there was a guy named Keith Johnstone, who was from London originally, but he ended up in Calgary, and he wrote a book called Impro, and he's the originator of a lot of the improv techniques that are around the world. So when I was in high school and in university, my brother and I spent all our weekends there and doing improv shows and doing tech and writing stuff and doing kid shows. And so that was like I often say like I kind of grew up there. Um, but it was a great place to be, a great culture. We were all very young at the time, and it was a really cool place to just immerse ourselves in theater and improv, which was so fun and felt very dangerous. And so, yeah, between those, I did a university degree in Calgary, and then moved out to Vancouver, and that's when I kind of started working more professionally. But I definitely give a big shout out to my yeah, my high school drama teacher and Keith Johnstone for really setting me up to kind of see the potential and really falling in love with theater and acting and film as an art form.
So you really love the art of improv. That's what it sounds like to me.
It's part of my roots, you know, and because my one of my first acting teachers was Keith Johnstone. He would use improv to get us to, you know, explore Shakespeare, explore classic text, explore text work and stuff. So for me, improv and acting have always been very kind of one and the same. But improv is definitely my roots, and even now I run an improv company out here in Vancouver, and I teach improv. I keeps me I really enjoy teaching this stuff. It brings people a lot of joy and it's fun. Keeps things fresh, you know, and it sets you up with a good outlook for life, you know. Failure is necessary for learning.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, try to inspire other people and give them a nice time when you're working with them, you know. And as an actor, like even doing the wrong choice can lead you somewhere fun, right? I think a lot of people get concerned about, oh, doing it right. What's the right way to play this character? And improv kind of gives you the sensibility, like, you know what? There's a million ways you can play a scene or play a character, and sometimes just playing around with the wrong way, you can stumble on something that is really fun and really special, you know?
So when did you transition to want to be on screen? What was that the right choice? Obviously it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, no, honestly, it was a slow process for me. Like definitely in the first part of my career, I mostly worked in theater and live theater. And and it's really been the last kind of 5 to 10 years where I've always loved film and loved doing film, but because I worked mostly in theater and it keeps you busy, like when you're on a theater contract, you're doing that every day, right? But about 5, 10 years ago, I was lucky to meet up with a really cool director in Vancouver here who has a bit of an improv sensibility. He writes the scripts for specific actors and he leaves a lot of room for kind of spontaneity and so that was a great in for me to see, oh, the improv and the film are actually a lot more connected than I ever imagined. And so now I've really, yeah, I've stepped aside from the live theater for the most part and am just loving working in film. I love it as a medium. I love the challenges and the creativity of it. And yeah, totally hooked.
So do you have a checklist of roles that or films or people that you want to work with?
That's a great question. In a funny way, I've never been one to have really kind of like goals like that. I'm often just more focused in the moment and like who I'm working with. I feel very grateful to have worked with a lot of fantastic artists that I love. I mean, to, put some dreams out there, like, oh man, I don't even know how to answer that question, but I love one of the things I'll just say I love how, like, for me, improv and film felt like about as far away as you could get. I felt
Hmm.
like live theater was kind of more in the improv world and I feel like not only in my own work, but just globally, and there's a lot of films coming up about improv and improv as a technique for actors and story building and all this stuff seems to be really coming to this cool nexus point. Also, the technology, like when I started out, you're shooting on film, like you can't improvise. It's
Yeah.
like every second is costing money. Whereas now with digital, well, you can just let the camera roll and you can let the actors go. So I guess, to answer that, what my dream is like, who are the next visionaries of the day? Like I'm down for it, but like I'm interested to see how the next kind of 10 years go with the synthesis of the evolution of technology and the evolution of kind of improv as a tool for acting and storytelling and to see what the future brings.
Well, the future, you just got started, and you already came out with the bang with the scene in Cryptic. That's for certain. So, I've taken a lot of your time already, Jeff. But tell us what's coming up next for you after Cryptic.
Great. Well, got a couple projects in the works. I shot a film last year that's called The Bearded Girl. And it's produced by the same production company that did Kryptic. Another first time emerging female director and writer, Jodie Wilson. It's a great fantasy story about a be very circusy bearded girl. And I play like a villain in that, who's like a land developer. And that was a really fun part. Again, a lot of improv. They just had the camera rolling on us. They even added a scene with me and my sidekicks. They attached a camera to the car and they're like, just drive the car and just go. And so we had a ton of fun working on that. So that should come out next year. And with some of my colleagues at the Improv Theater, we're developing a film about improv as well, a slasher horror about improv. So I'm very excited to be working on that, and we're hoping to shoot that next year.
Wow, it sounds like you're not shy away from these type of unusual projects, but th that is terrific. And just real fast, was there improv for yourself on Cryptic? Because I don't see there's much room for that.
Yeah, in the cavity.
Well said.
But no, I mean that's the thing with the intimacy coordinator, right? Is you're really kind of sculpting those moments. Um, but what I'll say this is that I use it a lot in my prep, and I'll just share this. Like Morgan, the character I play, he's done this video where he's searching for his wife, and part of the backstory that Courtney had made was like he plays piano, and he'd like so I in my prep, I did like a lot of improv, like as Morgan kind of working on this video. And some of the video segments are in the thing. And I wrote a song like I did on piano, like I improvised my own like song about her that I thought like he would do. So definitely like in the prep and on that side, lots. But yeah, I'm really proud of how it turned out, and yeah, I hope people have a good time watching it.
Well, they will certainly do and try to look you up saying what did I watch? So so Jeff, thank you very much for speaking to us, and we'll circle back again on future projects.
That sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on the show, and all the best.
Hey, thank you. Bye
So
now.
long.